Welcome back. Sbu Ngwenya is a young entrepreneur who started off his sock business at a young age. He went on to distribute his products at some of the country's biggest retail stores. Our producer Musa Mkaliphi sat down with him early in the week. Let's have a look at this insert.
The month of June marks Youth Month, and throughout this month we'll be profiling young and inspiring individuals. And our next guest is just that, a young man who turned his love for socks into a lucrative business. Sbu Ngwenya now joins us to tell us a bit more about himself and his business. Hello and welcome to Morning Live.
Hey Musa, how are you?
I'm great, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mrs.
Pleasure having me here. All right, so briefly, Sbu, tell us a bit about who Sbu Siso is.
Well, Sbu Ngwenya is a 26-year-old entrepreneur from the east of Johannesburg. Mbuya is a small township that has something like 300,000 people, most of them who are unemployed. And when you come from that type of background, you're really forced to make something out of yourself. I'm almost pushed to the corner as a young 21-year-old when I started the business to really go out of my way, because it was after dropping out and I was unemployable and I really needed to do something out of myself. I come from a family of great storytellers. My late grandmother, my mom, my aunt and my sister, and I think my storytelling is very evident through what I'm doing every day. You know, I tell great stories through each and every pair of socks. I'm a fun-loving young South African who really feels like I am doing the same thing that the youth of 1976 were doing on the streets, but I'm doing it in the retail space. I'm doing it in the fashion space. I'm doing it in the design space.
Take us through where your love for socks all began.
Oh my God, as I told you right now, I was raised by 4 beautiful women. You know, as you know, ladies love color, they love clothes, they love patterns. But also my mom is behind this whole love for socks. Musa, when I was growing up, my mom would force me to wash my socks inside out, and that in a way instilled a sense of attention to detail when it comes to my socks. And suddenly I was careful which socks am I wearing with what and how. But I really loved fabric and color. But I really think my story is very interlinked, you know, because after I had dropped out from the University of Johannesburg, I needed to do something with my hands, and something that I really loved doing. And design and socks was the closest thing to me. I remember I was sitting at a mall. My mom gave me 70 rands to go treat myself. And I went to a retail store, bought socks that were marked down to 5 rands, repackaged them with a golden orange string, and started selling them on social media. And that is how my love for socks started. As a matter of fact, Musa, before starting Sbu Socks, I had collected something like 70 pairs of socks of my own. So for me, it was a true case study of fashion turned into profit.
All right, so you spoke about rebranding and repackaging, but like, how did you then find a gap in South Africa to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go into the sock business?
For me, I think I'm one of those gifted artists and storytellers, because I have a very entrepreneurial bone in me. Even from growing up, I used to sell sweets to my peers. In primary school, I had a brand, it had a slogan. Our slogan was strong, sexy and sweet. And my peers would sell sweets for 20 cents. I sold them for 30 cents. And I knew from a very young age that branding and being different from other people will set you apart.
So since the inception of Sbu Socks, how has your business grown over the years?
Oh, my business is a business case study in different folds, you know. Young people always ask me, I want to start a business, where do I go? I say learn from our case study. I had only 70 rands. I started with what I had, which was 70 bucks, and I went on to stock the socks. But also, immediately when you start, you realize how much advantages we have as the youth today. We have social media. Social media literally means, as Sbu Ngwenya, I have my own SABC. I have my own audience watching me that I can sell to. And that is how I really started growing the business, by using the people around me to sell the product.
All right, now let's talk about Youth Month as well. As a young person in South Africa, I mean, it is Youth Month. Do you think that, you know, going into entrepreneurship is like maybe a path that young people should actually go into?
You know what? Entrepreneurship should be compulsory at a primary school level. Entrepreneurship, Musa, in easy terms, is saying I have a talent, be it singing, dancing, selling, talking, writing, interviewing people. But how do I take that and multiply it? How do I take that and make more money out of it? And how do I take that and make sure that more people know about it? That's what entrepreneurship is. And that is what I wake up every morning doing.
Okay, I know now you're on your way up, picking yourself up again, but it hasn't been that easy. You've been through a rough patch, during 2017. You lost somebody very dear to you. Just take us through that.
Oh man, I'm so happy, to be part of the Foschini group. Last year, in the midst of this turmoil, I had to negotiate my contract with Markham for something like 9 months. Because before that, remember, I was at Starterfords, and at Starterfords, Musa, I was an excited 21-year-old who's happy to be part of this retail store. I signed a terrible contract that resulted to me, after 12 months of being with them, owing people something like 800,000. I was deep in debt of close to $1 million because of bad, terrible decision making. And with Markham, when I approached them, I told myself that even if it takes me a year or 2 years to negotiate this contract, I want to make sure that at the end of this, I'm a happy young man in this business.
All right, so you've reached your peak and you've gone down and you're on your way up again. So what can people expect to see from you, in the near future going ahead?
Wow. I want to continue being innovative in my marketing. I want to continue exploring different avenues of distribution. Can I give you numbers of how the retail space is looking like? We have the big five, which you all know, age.He, the Foschini Group, and all those things. They are still owned by big people who have money in that, and there are no black players in those spaces. Markham on its own makes $3 billion a year from clothes, from the people in our communities. And those are the kind of things I really want to explore myself. I want to make sure that I grow my distribution base in South Africa. I want to grow my distribution base in the African continent, and that will lead us that will make us leaders globally,
Thank you so much for joining us, Sbu, and all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Musa.
All right, well, you heard it, South Africa. That was Sbu Ngwenya talking to us about Skinny Sbu socks. But right now, we take an ad break.